What's going on, world? We are back for another episode of Wrapped. This month, we deal with 2 months, January and February, but only a little bit of January. So let's get to it. All right, so I am back after what is it, a couple months off where we took?
Yeah, I guess we're at like we're officially in the month of March, so we're talking about at least a 4-month hiatus.
True. A well-needed one, but either way, we are here to talk about the months of January and February. I have my co-host, Aaron. My name is K Styles. This is In Crowd. I feel like I'm signing off, but just in case you wondered who we are, this is what we're doing. So
just in case.
We have a very long list of things that some of this stuff we're gonna try to get through pretty quickly. Some of the stuff we might go in depth, but yeah, you ready to kick it off?
Let's do it.
So starting off January, I think the biggest story was probably Cat Williams. And because Cat Williams was in the interview with Shannon Sharpe on Club Shay Shay, which is a hilarious name to that podcast, but we're not going to talk about that. And he just went at everybody, it felt like. He was talking about everybody, and it created such a stir. But I don't even know. I think based on the numbers that we saw from that podcast, I don't think we need to describe or talk about it because I think everybody's seen it. It was some ridiculous number, like 30 million people or something like that. So, what were your thoughts on that? And then we could talk. We could move off of this pretty quickly because I think everyone is probably.
Yeah. For me, I didn't watch it. I did not watch it. I refused to watch it.
Oh damn! Okay.
The stuff. Yeah, I'm not going to watch it. I think you and I discussed this. Just in one of our maybe meetings or whatever. I'm not a big fan of the constant stream of black media where it seems like we sit down a black person or we sit down a group of black people and the conversation is pretty much negative about other black people. And for me, that is what this interview represented. I'm already one of those people that kind of likes to go in the opposite direction when I see the crowd heading in one direction. And because it was garnering so much attention and it was garnering the kind of attention that me personally, I didn't feel that was productive. It wasn't enlightening. It wasn't educational. It wasn't uplifting. It was everything negative, but yet it had droves of people running in the direction of that interview. I decided to stay away from it. I heard all of the blowback and it's just nothing but negative vitriol. So yeah, I don't think I missed anything. I will never view it. But big credit to Club Shay Shay for gaining all these numbers and starting what seems to be a comedian feud, because since then it's just been a domino effect. So I guess whatever he was attempting to accomplish, it's accomplished, but I stayed away from it.
Interesting. Did you see the clips at least?
I saw some clips, but I paid very little attention. When I tell you I had no interest in this, I'm already not a fan of Cat Williams. I'm not a fan of his stand-up. I'm not a fan of him as a person. I've never been interested in his personality. I don't like the way he speaks. I don't like the way he presents himself. He's just not the kind of person that captures my interest at all. So watching him sit down with Shannon Sharpe was not something I was interested in. And then hearing what was happening there made me even further uninterested. So I didn't listen to, but don't get me wrong. There was no amount of what happened on his show that I did not become privy to, because it's all everyone was talking about. So I couldn't avoid it. I just chose not to watch it.
Makes sense. Well, with that being said, I guess we don't even need to spend any more time on that. It was what it was. I understand. I definitely get what you're coming from. I do think that it was interesting to watch. I have an appreciation for Shannon Sharpe, because Shannon Sharpe was sitting on that show with Skip, what his name was, whatever that guy's name was. We don't care about his name, and Skip was disrespectful as hell, and he had to tolerate that, and he left and did his own thing, and he's doing his thing, right? And I could get where Cat Williams coming from. Your feelings about Cat Williams. Cat Williams is definitely like an acquired taste. But it's interesting to watch him in that forum because I think it was just one of those things where like every now and again you strike gold, and if it did definitely struck gold with that. I mean, based on just the general consumption. So
yeah, for
I
sure.
give him that
for sure. Yeah, I mean, that's the reason for media, right? Is to pull in attention, and there was no shortage of attention being pulled in. So
yeah. So moving along, I guess in the same vein of the beefs, there was a Nicki and Megan Thee Stallion beef. This is January, so I think it's old news now. But just wanted to talk about it for a second. What are your thoughts? I'm gonna throw it to you one time.
So it was disappointing as a whole because usually when there's beef and there's beef in hip hop, me personally, I'm not a fan of the beef, but I will listen to the records only because I'm a fan of hip hop. And when I listen to beef records, I'm listening to beef records not so much because it's like, oh, she's getting at Meg or whatever. It's more so like Nicki can rap, so I'm gonna listen. Meg can rap, so I'm gonna listen. And both of those records, to me, they didn't do it for me. They're not going down in classic beef, like history. You know how there's like some records that dropped that were beef records. I mean, as much as I might not give him his flowers, I think one of the best beef records, if you want to call it that, is Back to Back Drake. You know, it didn't do that kind of. Even her last one where she had the beef with Remy. You know, her records back then did a little bit better. It was, but all in all, nothing stood out in either one of their records. As a matter of fact, I'll say Meg did a much better job than Nicki. Nicki's record was rushed. It just wasn't good. I wish she had taken her time because I know she can do better than that. But, it's already out.
I know, I feel like in all of our conversations, especially when Meg Thee Stallion comes up, it seems like I'm leaning like super Meg. But honestly, I don't want to hear anything from Nicki Minaj.
Ever.
And it's sad. Well, let me explain. So I had gotten to the point where I was just like, I don't want to hear nothing from her. I just like, she's just disappointing as an artist to me. Then her last record, I was like, oh, okay, she's making me have to eat my words. And then she came out and put out the beef record. I'm like, okay, well,
right back to where we started.
I guess broken clock is right, twice a day, So like, I don't know. Nicki, to me, it's funny to watch Nicki in the position that she was in with Lil' Kim. Because I feel like the beef that they had when they first started is the same thing. Oh, I'm the one on top in a like male-dominated arena. You got to do, you got to pay homage, da-da-da. And I'm like, honestly, when you see her do that with Cardi, now Meg, it's like you are missing the clear indication of the times, right? Like the times where women fight for the one spot is not a thing anymore. Right? You can have the Cardis of the world and the Megan. That's why actually, if you look at them, every time they drop a record, it blows up because they're working together. And I think that Nicki still has this ego, like, I'm the one, I'm the best. And I'm like, arguably, she should be considered the best. But the stuff you've done for the last couple of years makes you less likely to be in that argument. But
right. Yeah, and I could agree with that. And one of the things that I would add to that is if you're the best, at least some of the things I've heard about what she's done in the background with trying to block records and trying to block this. And if you're the best never needs to do that. The best never needs to do that. Like, I've never heard Wayne doing that. From all I know, Wayne puts people on. You know why? Because he's going to let his talent speak. Same goes with Jay. I've never heard of these people, especially people like Jay and Wayne. All they do is put people on. So if you're the best, you should be coming out and applauding these women and pushing them to the forefront because if you do really feel like you are the best, then you know that they can't touch you lyrically. You wrap them up. But it seems to me like maybe there's some insecurities there, maybe. And yeah, but it's a fall from grace. I hate to see the greats do this and then like go out on a bad foot with their legacy. It's like almost like Kanye West to a degree, but you know.
Yeah, it is sad, and it tells you it's something to be said about just ego and balancing and managing that, because
masterclass and what not to do.
Yeah, but the thing about it is, the one part I would say in conclusion is they needed some of that to become who they were, both Kanye and Nicki. Like, you needed to have that, overinflated, unchecked bravado to become what you were back then, right? Like, it's like you can't barely blame, completely blame them, but at a certain point you need to like, okay, cool, well, what's the next step after that, right? Like, you can't operate at the same level consistently, especially in the changing of times. And that's the part that I feel like both Kanye and Nicki have not figured out yet.
I get it.
Well, into another era, which is a little bit more positive, and definitely up your alley a little bit more. The Bitcoin ETF thing that happened in January. Do you want to talk about that for a couple seconds?
Couple of seconds. All right.
Damn.
Well, I know.
No pressure.
I'm just kidding. Well, basically, it's no secret now. I think the world, at least if you pay attention to anything that's going on in the financial markets, you're fully aware of the fact that previously institutions were not able to invest in Bitcoin, especially, well, not just especially, but banks. Big fund managers were not able to get their clients to invest in Bitcoin. If you yourself wanted to invest in Bitcoin, you had to get it through an exchange like a Coinbase or a Crypto.com or now fallen FTX. Once you did acquire that Bitcoin, it was extremely, how can I put this, dangerous and risky to keep that Bitcoin on the exchange. So now you would have to go find a self-custody method. By self-custody, I mean you would have to go pick up something like this, which is a crypto wallet, and it's always there. You would have to you'd have to make sure to keep your private keys in check. You would have to make sure that your computer is clean because, things happening, keyloggers, all these. So there were a bunch of risks associated with self-custodying. You couldn't invest in it with your 401k, IRAs, any of that. So these big institutions, BlackRock being one of them, Fidelity being one of them, ARK Invest being another one of them, they all went to the SEC and pretty much followed all of the rules, everything that needed to be done in order to get an ETF, which is an exchange traded fund, which you can pretty much buy and sell on the stock market like any other stock. And inside of this ETF, it holds Bitcoin. So by buying the ETF, you get exposure to Bitcoin. And back in January, I believe it was 9 that all got approved at the same time. Unfortunately, it didn't do for Bitcoin what was expected right at the top. But since then, we've seen major changes take place. So, yeah, we're in a positive place right now. We just have to wait to see what the future holds with that. But that pretty much kind of wraps it up nicely as to what took place there.
Got you. I mean, I remember it sounded like a time that a lot of people were waiting for. So, good stuff. Good stuff all around.
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. I don't know if it's a good thing for crypto, but it's here.
I guess time will tell. Time will tell.
All
right, so those are the 3 things from January, just because, we wanted to touch on that. We couldn't go past without mentioning some things that happened. Moving along to February of 2024, where do we start? I kind of want to start on a high note. So we're going to talk about Killer Mike winning a Grammy. And if you haven't seen it, Aaron reviewed that project on here for In Crowd Reviews. So it felt like we also won a Grammy based on our choosing abilities. But no, I mean, I think this is a great thing. I actually like that album too myself.
I think I reviewed it pretty high as well.
Yes, it was one of the higher ones. So it means that we're right about something. And so, just check out more of our reviews.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it was a good album, and when it dropped, if I'm not mistaken, it dropped in April of 2023. At the time that the album came out, there was not a lot of good music, at least in the hip hop and R&B kind of arena. So it kind of stood out for sure, and clearly it stood out to more people than just myself because, as Styles mentioned, it did garner him his first Grammy. And if I'm not mistaken, quite a bit of artists that were on the record also were nominated as well. So it definitely was a big one, especially to have a record like this, which isn't the biggest, loudest, how could I put this, most overhyped and well-funded record to come out. He spent his own money. I think that is one of the best parts of this because there's an interview with him where he mentions that he had to gamble on himself. He told his wife, like, look, I'm putting everything on this, spent his own money to make this record happen. Pretty much would have been bankrupt if this album didn't do what it was supposed to do. And he bet on himself and he won.
Yeah. And that's a big thing. I think one of the other things too that was interesting to see was someone at an older age get the accolades, because we always think of hip hop as a young person's sport. So when people get to a certain age, you expect them to kind of fade away. And so to me, that was a big deal because it's like, this man he believes in what he's doing. And he has been consistent with everything that he's been putting his mind to. Like, he is a fixture. Like, his show on Netflix was fantastic. I don't know if they ever gave him a second season or they plan to, but like, I would love to see that come back. But like, it's just like, he's just unwaveringly doing his thing, right? And I think that is something important to see, and it's for the dreamers out there. It's a kind of a great thing to see people, actually see their things to fruition. So
yeah,
I know there was a couple of people who were like, "Who's Killer Mike?" and upset, like Kai Cenat and
Aiden
a couple
Ross.
other people, and I'm just like, and I'm like, you know what? This is what we had to deal with as hip hop fans for many years, where the people that we listened to didn't get the records. The year when Macklemore beat Kendrick for best album, this is what we had to deal with. So suck it up. I don't give a shit about what your opinion is, because at the end of the day, the Grammys are finally, well, except for Jay-Z's speech about Beyonce, which was we didn't actually add that in this, but I love that speech. But Grammys have never recognized hip hop appropriately. And it sounds like there's been a changing of the tide, and they're starting to actually realize that they need to. And to me, that's a win. Will I go back to supporting the Grammys? I don't know. Maybe not.
Yeah.
I didn't miss the Grammys at one point. And every year we sat there and watched them screw people over who, based on the music that I listened to, were the people who should have had the best things, right? And granted, that's based on my opinion. But I had other people who shared the same feeling. So to have Killer Mike win when we knew that the album was good, I support it, bro.
Yeah, for sure. And it's definitely not a conversation for this show, but maybe one day we can have a deeper conversation as to why hip hop disrespects all of the founding fathers like that. Or just people that are older in the game, because I'll tell you, as someone that listens to different genres, you listen to Spanish music, you listen to rock music, you listen to pop music, they all celebrate and give flowers to the people that pretty much laid the groundwork for the newer artists to be there. Only in hip hop, the newer generation pretty much spit on the older generation, and I don't support or agree with that at all. So that is something that I guess, at some point or another, it'd be interesting to have a conversation about that, because even the older generation kind of treats the younger generation the same way. And I don't know which came first, the chicken or the egg. Is it the younger generation disrespecting the old heads that started this, or is it the old heads disrespecting the younger generation? But it is a deeper conversation for another day. I don't know why it's the only genre of music that does that.
Well, I do have a quick rebuttal for that, just based on my understanding. I think it has a lot to do with the age of of hip hop, and the fact that hip hop is literally what
50
40 years old.
It just
Oh yeah,
supported
50.
it just celebrated the 50th anniversary this year,
So
2023.
yeah, so 50 years old means that there's never been a long time to see what it looks like and to see the people that you grew up with change into other generations. And it always was, it was always a young man's sport. It 100% was a young man's sport. And so I definitely think we need to dive into that.
Metal.
But I don't know.
I mean, heavy metal. We're talking about heavy metal. Hasn't been around that long. When did heavy metal start? Maybe in the 60s or 70s, somewhere around there. I have yet to see, and heavy metal is definitely a young man's sport. But I don't know. I don't hear the younger generation. They go talk to any newer metal band. They're giving credit to Metallica and AC/DC and all these older acts. So I don't know.
The one other thing I would say is that hip hop was birthed out of the battle culture of like the DJ
competition.
So I think the competition part also is a thing because you're like you have to be a part. You got to be better than the other guy, right?
Everything in hip hop is battle, from the breakdancing and all of that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So I think with all that being said, it's just that we haven't come to terms with like you could still be the best in your field and respect the people who came before you, which is why I like people like 50 Cent, because 50 Cent I think does a pretty good job of giving credit. Like I heard him and Snoop were like paying like some people's health insurance and stuff for like older people in hip hop. I'm like, that's commendable. That's dope. And you don't think about that from a lot of people. But
that's dope.
Moving along, as on the music tip, Universal Music Group decided to remove their music from TikTok, which led all your TikToks to sound like they were the hold music to 80s to 80s call centers for a while because it was. I had a couple of videos up there with music, and I'm like, this doesn't match what I played.
So you know how they do those stupid TikTok dances? Did they have the actual dances going on and then it's like playing elevator music so they're just looking stupid in the face dancing?
Yes.
That's hilarious. Yes. I think that's actually pretty funny.
It is. It actually is really funny. But it also interesting to watch like a large label move their music away from TikTok. Now, TikTok has arguably been in the hot seat for many different reasons, whether it's, they're selling information to China, which is the big argument that people have been having, or, whatever. It's been a lot of back and forth with TikTok, but this is interesting to watch companies pull away, especially knowing that like music on TikTok literally is a big deal, right? Like you can't really. There is no TikTok without music. I mean, you have other people doing stuff, but it's kind of a thing. So, I don't know. What are your thoughts on that? And then also UMG like offering like a creators bundle that you could do a subscription to their music.
Yeah, I mean, it's all a financial play. I mean, as someone that does not really use TikTok, nor do I really even like the platform, I mean, EAD TikTok, what am I going to say? You can't expect to use these artists' music, the parent company at least, without greasing their palms. From what I understand, TikTok is probably the biggest social media at this current time. I think it's bigger than everything else. You go look at the stores. I think it's like number 2 or 3 of like the most downloaded app half the time. So, if you're getting that kind of attention flowing into your model, then you have to pay for some of the things that help facilitate you getting to where you are. And if you don't like it, then so be it. You got to pay to play.
The thing that upsets me about that though is that this thing literally has built so many and reinvigorated so many people's records.
True.
So, there should be some in between. And as an artist, I'm kind of mad if I don't have my music on. Like if I'm signed to UMG, I'd probably be kind of mad because granted, but then again, I'm thinking of it from one aspect because I don't know are the artists actually seeing money from it. I don't know, but
that's another thing.
Yeah,
That's another
So
thing
here's
because
some.
it's like, how upset could you be if they took the music down, but when the music was up there, all of the money that's being garnered is just the parent company just kind of putting it in their own pockets. So, yeah, I mean,
That's another big conversation about the record industry that we might have to really find another space for these music conversations because they always bleed into all the other content just because we're all like music minded individuals. Anywho,
yeah.
going on to, I guess this is music adjacent. Young Thug's case and DA, was it DA? I think she was DA, right? I don't know which one.
Are you?
There's so many.
Yeah, I believe so.
Fannie
Yeah,
Willis.
yeah. I
Fannie
believe
Willis.
so. I believe so.
Yeah, and it's so interesting to watch that unfold just because I know the reason why they bring it up has primarily to do with the Trump case that
Right.
she's also pulling against. She's also trying to see through. But also, it's interesting when you're like under that scrutiny to be potentially getting caught up like that. It's just very fascinating to me.
Yeah, I mean,
thoughts?
and they're just like digging into her personal life as if that has anything to do with the Trump case. But I guess when something happens like what she did, now it comes into question of character, and I don't know if that's maybe what they were playing towards.
100%.
But I honestly don't see how in any way what her personal life or what she does in the bedroom or whose husband she sleeps with or vacations she takes or whatever she may have been doing there, I don't see how any of that plays into the case that Trump has kind of like looming. So it's a delay tactic and
100%.
just a way to get away from taking accountability for your misactions.
Which is crazy because the fact that they would be questioning this woman about stuff that she did outside when we literally had a president try to steal an election, I think the two things are not being, like, listen, I don't necessarily have a feeling one way or the other about this woman, but what she's doing in her personal life is nothing to be compared to the 90 felony Trump, bro. That's what I'm going to call 90 felony Trump is what we're going to start calling it, bro. 90 felonies, bro.
Gangster.
He is listen, we talk about Putin and all of these people, but he's trying to be up there because 90 felonies is crazy. If Obama had one felony, forget about it. Anyway.
Yeah, of course. I mean, come on, it's Trump. He's America's darling, so to speak.
Is he? I was gonna say he's America's what you call it? What's that dude from New York? That went to jail right, and everybody came back out.
Who?
No.
What?
No, the rapper. I've
6ix9ine?
memory. Yeah, he's America's 6ix9ine.
That's
he's
crazy.
A political 6ix9ine, bro.
That's crazy.
Is it wrong? Is it wrong?
I think Trump is a little bit more gangster.
Yeah, he's actually gangster. Yeah, that's a good point. Good point. But I guess staying closely connected to the trial case, the trial of Young Thug, his other lawyer, which her name was, what is it again?
I didn't catch her name. I'm a fan of her.
Is Nicole Fegan?
Fegan?
You said you're a fan of her?
I'm a fan.
It's Fegan.
I'm a fan. Yeah, I'm a fan of Fegan.
What? Please enlighten me as to why.
I don't know. There's just something about the fact that she is so infatuated, for lack of a better term, with Black culture. It's fascinating to watch something like that. It would be the equivalent of if, you know what, to a degree, she's like the legal version of a Candace Owens, where it's like, Candace kind of seems like she thinks she's a white person from the suburbs. This lady seems like she, like, I don't know. I don't know if she's putting on this act or if this truly is who she is, but it is fascinating. And, as a result, I'm a fan of it. Like, hey, you know what? If you really are that ingrained and that much in touch with Black culture or urban culture, I support it. It's a nice thing to see.
I don't know. I mean, she really lived that life to be getting hit with gang charges, though. Like,
Listen. They were listening, so apparently she's out here for real, tipping
I
off
don't know. I
street
just thought
dudes and stuff like that. Like
I just watched that situation. I'm like, wow. I mean, we had a whole long conversation in our production meeting about this that should be on our Patreon at some point. We'll probably link it here
when we get that set up. Yep.
Yeah, when we get that going. But like, it's just wild to me. And there's a larger conversation about like people, what one could interpret as like copying Black culture. But you know, who am I to judge? Especially know that we're going into our next conversation, which is the Trump ones that dropped. Now, how does that connect? It connects because there was this one Fox News pundit, which anytime you start that conversation, you know you're in for some very interesting point of views.
Yeah.
But he essentially used the Trump sneakers, if you don't know what we're talking about, to say that he is connecting with Black America because he put out some sneakers.
Yeah.
And he was like, he's connecting beyond culture. And to me, I thought that was more insulting than anything else. Because you've simplified Black America and the Black vote to a pair of sneakers. And I have an issue with that.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the Trump ones? We call it the Trump ones from now.
To go off of what you're saying in terms of him kind of taking the Black vote and reducing it to a pair of sneakers. It's like, hey man, it's like a kid, I go get a kid a toy and this is how I connect with the kids because, I'm passing out toys. And we're talking about sneakers here. And they're not even attractive sneakers. If you're going to do that, at least come out with some fire sneakers if you're going to try to appeal to the Black audience. But these golden, I don't know what these things are, man. Whatever they may be. The only thing is that I wish I knew that they were coming out. Not because I need Trump to appeal to me so much, but because I'm a man that would take that and find a way to flip it for at least 5, 6, maybe even 10 times its value. So maybe even hold on to it for a little while. Maybe I might have had it erected in the back. Maybe to just have people come to the show like, listen, I got the official Trump. And he actually signed some of them. So it would have been dope to get a hold of some signed Trump ones and have those on deck. And, a year from now, who knows, when the election comes around, if he wins, whatever, auction those bad boys off and really get some money off of that.
Yeah. But
all in all, the sneakers are not that attractive. It definitely is insulting to reduce the Black vote and the appeal to Black people to a pair of sneakers. We're not all into sneakers. It's actually very small. If you get to know Black people as a whole, unless it's a young Black urban male or female, not too many Black people are into sneakers like that.
Yeah. Well, also, it's just to me, it shows kind of a lack of understanding and this kind of monolithic way that they approach Black people. It's kind of upsetting. It's like,
that's what politicians do to us.
But it's upsetting. It just,
of course.
fires me up every time because, and this is why our conversation on the production meeting went so long, because it was one of those things where it's like, I'm sick and tired of politicians getting the easy way out. Like, I always talk about Hillary and the whole hot dog. Wow. Hot dog. Whoa.
Who knows? She might have had hot that sauce. There too.
I mean, you got to put something on the hot sauce on something, right? But the hot sauce in my bag, would that make you vote for me? Or the Biden, if you vote for me, you're not Black. It's like, hold the phone. These things should not be allowed under any circumstance. And it's funny, we talked about Candace Owens, and she talks about the fact that the liberal, Republican, the Democrats are full of races. And I'm like, I can't argue with that.
Would go over? How do you think that would go over if someone like Trump said, if you don't vote for me, you ain't white?
I mean, For some people, they're probably like, "Hey, hello."
That would be very controversial. Yet that Biden statement
100%.
was not that controversial. So
it's weird. It's weird because also, I'm sorry, I keep bringing up Obama. Obama's out here right now living his best life, but I guarantee he can say that as a black man, because you don't want to say, hey, and I know he said it in one of his things. He's like, I'm the president for all people,
for America,
right?
yeah.
And you don't want to go in. You don't want to go into the situation, essentially using your race to justify, and like it's just not a thing. So it's weird to see other people do it, and it's kind of acceptable. But
pretty sure he would have lost the election if he said something flagrant like that.
Fact. Even on the second run, it would have been. It would not have been. But Biden says a lot of things. So
listen, he is an old man that is losing his facilities. I guess that's why it got to slip by. I don't know.
I guess. I don't know. Anywho,
yeah.
I guess we keep it on the political, the old man
within the political spectrum.
Yeah. So Mitch McConnell, after he is frozen up multiple times, this man is a walking blue screen of death. For our computer nerds, I need to make sure that's very clear. Like if you ever seen the blue screen, you've watched that happen with Mitch McConnell at least twice. And it's just odd to me that we've gotten to the place where people are in their seat for so long that they're not able to actually operate at the level that is required to make decisions for the whole country.
100%. 100%. This man
I know there's people. Yeah, go ahead.
No, I was going to say, this man has shut down more times than a Windows Vista machine, and they still rolled him out there time after time after time.
I was trying not to crack a joke. You had to go to Vista now?
Dude.
But to me, it says something about what is kind of wrong with our government. And I don't mean it to be ageist, but like, there's no way that Mitch McConnell can fully fulfill his duties as what he was. Like he just actually wasn't. Either he wasn't, or that man was the most brilliant person ever, because he was like, you know what? I'm just gonna answer your question. I'm just gonna sit there and stare at you. It's one of the two. I hope it's the latter, not the former. But like, how do we get to that point? Like, how do we get to the point where literally we have people that are not able to do their jobs and they're still in place?
Yeah, it's disgusting. I mean, we've got people like Senator Elizabeth Warren, we've got Trump, we've got Biden, we've got
Whoa. You put Elizabeth Warren in the same category as
listen, all I'm saying
she's
is
older.
Yes, but my point is that we need people that are a little bit more in touch with what's going on. I think that it serves us as a major disadvantage when all of our politicians are literally in their 70s, 80s, and it doesn't help for representation at all. There are parts of the world, I can't remember what part of the world it was exactly. It might have been Switzerland, I'm not sure, but their president is like a 40-something-year-old woman. And it seems like they're just a little bit more in tune with how they do things and how they connect with the younger generation, while at the same time making sure that the older generation is well represented, well taken care of, and still has a say in what goes on in the way the country is ran. We're not doing the same thing here. So I think that it's time for us to really consider not just the fact that a person might be a certain age, because there are people who would be in their 80s and are sharp as a tack, and people in their 80s who it's time to hang it up. It's almost like a driver's license. You cannot drive legally until you're a certain age. We've seen people out there who clearly should not be on the road anymore, but they're still out there. We need to bring our politicians in. They need to have some sort of a test. There needs to be an age limit where it's like, okay, you're representing the country. And let's be honest here. These people are on the world stage. The world is watching these individuals. We cannot have the United States of America continue to be represented in such a manner. It is embarrassing to watch someone like Biden get up in front of the country and address people and can barely string 2 words together. This is why our ops, so to speak, just don't care. They're like, what is this guy going to do? He's probably shitting his diaper right now. They're not worried about him. So, listen, these are facts. If the man can't get words out, what makes you think that he can hold his bowels together?
Okay, this took a turn. It took a turn that I did not expect.
All I'm saying is it's time for us to audit our politicians, man. It's time to stop.
No, I agree. I also agree with the driving too. Like there should be bi-yearly or biannually, however you say that, driver's tests.
Once you get to a certain age.
No, I think in general.
Oh, just period. Just period. So like you got you're 19 years old. You just got your license last year. Hey, when you're 20, we got to do you again.
Yep.
Okay. And you're saying biannually, so you're saying every...
give him every 2 years. So, 19, 21, you back in there to drive again. Can you still drive? Because it would eliminate some of the stuff on the road. But by the same token, I can't
be mad at that. I cannot be mad at that.
I think it also bring in money. It bring in money for the different governments, but it would be annoying, but I think it would lead to safer driving experience. But on top of that too, I think that we see that so much has changed, especially from a technology standpoint. Because think about our interaction with technology at our age versus now, at our as younger people. There are people who are growing up now that they are in schools with computers. They're in school with AI. They're in school with things that people who are making decisions about it have never experienced. And you telling me this person is in charge of making decisions? And one clear indication of that is watching when they did when they were interviewing Facebook and Google and all these places, and they were asking them questions about stuff, and you're like, yo, do you even understand what the hell's going on? So
yeah. No, I can't be mad at you. It's kind of funny now that you mentioned it to think about the fact that every couple of years you have to bring your vehicle in for an inspection, but we're not inspecting the person that is that's responsible for operating the vehicle. So you might be up to something there. I think it might be something valid.
Yeah, that's a whole nother conversation. So moving along, let's talk about something a little bit more positive, depending on how you look at positivity. So Usher's Super Bowl thing was interesting. It was. I mean, I saw some of it. I didn't watch the whole thing. I also feel like we keep forgetting what we're boycotting and what we're not, because I remember there was a whole boycott of the NFL that seemed to have gone away. But either way, I do think, right? Yeah, I do think that Usher has been having the best comeback since Soulja Boy. I don't,
Soulja Boy had a comeback?
Just
Okay, but no, you're right. Usher is definitely one of those artists who disappeared and spread a little bit of herpes for a little while, and then came back, and now he's back. And
oh my god,
it's like a herp. It won't go away. It's like he won't go away, right? So he's back. He's stronger than ever, and he's more visible than he's ever been, huh?
I don't have a response for that. That's not where I thought this was going to go.
Oh man, but you're right. You're right. After the whole Vegas residency and ending a few relationships and doing the most, getting punched in his face by Chris Brown, and now he's feeling up on Alicia Keys. This guy is a demon, man. But he is.
I mean, listen, he's definitely I have had very strong feelings towards Usher, but yes, he does have the demon tag, but he has made an interesting comeback. I mean, it's funny. I was having a conversation with somebody recently. I was like, you know what's funny? Somebody's gonna watch the Super Bowl and go to their friend and be like, oh, you know that guy from the Super Bowl, Usher, that new artist. and they're not gonna have any idea that there was a whole life before this where Usher
That would
existed.
be crazy.
It's
That
possible.
People would not have heard of Usher, but I could understand it.
It's possible.
It is definitely possible. And I think it was like, so the Super Bowl was on a Sunday, and like on the Thursday before the Super Bowl, he dropped his new album, which was not a good album, but he did that. Yeah, that was a good album.
Damn, son. Okay.
Not his best work at all.
I do think the one single from that was pretty fire. Good.
Yes, and that song was released, if I'm not mistaken, about 2 years ago, maybe even 3 years ago. That's an old song. Yeah, that's an old song. Yeah. That's an old song. He put it on the album. The album, it was probably the only one of, it's a long album. It was like 20-something songs, if I'm not mistaken. It came in about an hour, maybe a little bit more. It's not a good album. Not his best work at all.
Well, I don't have any response to that. That's not what I expected, but it is what it is.
Yeah, big ups to Usher, man. He did a great job with the Super Bowl performance. I enjoyed seeing some of his greatest hits. I enjoyed the costumes. I enjoyed Alicia Keys looking fantastic. Mother of what, 2, 3 at this point?
Lost count.
Still looking amazing. All the set pieces were cool. I think it was representative of what a Super Bowl halftime show should be like. Big artists, tons of costumes, big sound, amazing performance, beautiful. I enjoyed the performance as a whole.
Gotcha. Well, speaking to big ups, a European airline is talking about weighing customers.
Big ups. That's hilarious.
Woo! I still got it. But yeah, so a European airline, Finland Air, is proposing that they start weighing customers. Tell us more about this, because you brought this to my attention. I'm intrigued to hear how this could work, but
I mean, to be honest with you, it's something that should be considered. We're in a new time where there are movements such as the fat acceptance movement, and there are fatfluencers. We've gotten to a place where I've heard people say things like your weight does not determine your level of health, which is kind of true, but at the same time, there is a certain thing known as a BMI. And it's just very interesting that these people, they walk around with this level of privilege, so to speak. So knowing that these kind of individuals exist, I think that there has to be something that is counteractive to that. And weighing people who think that it's okay to be 1.5 or even 2 times the size of an average person, and then get onto a plane and sit in the seat next to me, but your other 0.5 of your body is in my seat, and now I have to sit as if I'm in a UPS truck at the back, like a box, just trying to. Nah, come on, we're not gonna do that. You're going to have to pay for a second seat. It's unacceptable. It's unacceptable. Plus, we have to pay extra if our bag is over a certain weight, correct? If I go right now to the airline and I try to fly with a bag that's over the 50-pound limit, they're going to say, whoa, buddy, it's too heavy. You're going to have to pay this surcharge. I think the same thing should apply to the humans. If you're a certain weight and you're not going to fit within certain dimensions of the seat, you're now going to make someone else very uncomfortable. You're going to have to pony up some cash. Maybe this is what some of these people need in order to reconsider the size that they're moving around with. I mean, it'll only help them in the long run.
This is true. But as someone who has definitely had my own struggles with weight.
Hey, I'm a fat guy and I'm saying this, so.
Well, yeah, but I don't think at any point I ever said that, like, one of the things I'm seeing with like the fatfluencers is that, we need to make the seats bigger. And I'm like, nah, it's not the case. The one argument I would have is they need to make the seats more comfortable. But they intentionally keep the comfortable ones in premium economy and in first class, because those things are comfortable as hell. So you can make it comfortable. You just don't want me to pay for the comfort. I just, that's the one argument I have to that. But I don't know. It'd be interesting to see if this ever, like, does Finland Air actually go through with this, and do they have any routes in the United States? Because it's gonna be hard to implement, I think.
Yeah,
just based on knowing our time and where we are right now.
Would it be hard to implement though?
I think so.
Really?
I think so.
If they say these are our policies, you got to get on the scale or you can't get on the flight. How hard is it to implement?
It's not hard to implement from an actual logical standpoint.
Yeah.
I think the problem is going to be the blowback from it. Watch,
That's fine.
They're going to try to cancel it.
That's fine. And that works out for the airline. They have less complaints about people. And it's kind of funny that it's happening with an airline like Finnish Airways. I'm willing to bet Finland is not one of the places in the world that has a problem with oversized people. But what
Possibly.
do I know?
Possibly.
I don't see it as a bad thing, but I do agree with you. Some of those seats are uncomfortable because I carry a little extra weight myself, but outside of carrying a little extra weight, the way that I am built, I'm tall and I have wide shoulders. So even if I were to lose the extra 20, 30 pounds that I'm carrying around, I'm still going to have, just look at my shoulders right now. There is a chair behind me and my shoulders are completely eclipsing the fact that and it's just, I have wide shoulders. That's just how I'm built. So I can understand that, because even that, I stand around 6'2", 6'1.5", somewhere in that region. If the person in front of me decides they're gonna lean back, it's an uncomfortable flight for me. And again, that has nothing to do with my size from this part. It's just uncomfortable. I just recently, not just recently, but I flew to South America last year, and it was one of the most uncomfortable flights I've ever had. I sat in the middle seat and I was like this the entire flight, and I get it. So yeah,
I can't. I have to be very particular which seat I get. Like, I have to be on either the aisle, because it's the same thing. The shoulder thing is just a thing. So even if, to your point, even if I was the skinniest person, I can't change the width of my shoulders.
Right.
So it's just not great. It's not great.
And then if you take that aisle seat, you're gonna just get bumped the whole time.
All the time. Every time I'm sitting there, I get, and everybody's like, I'm like, yo, you could have like twisted when you got to me. You didn't need to run into my shoulder. But it's still better than being claustrophobic stuck against the bulkhead. I don't like when you're like against, like, I don't like that. I don't like that at all. It's not my life.
Well, you're talking about sitting at the window seat? Oh, okay.
Yeah. I don't enjoy that. It feels like I'm not claustrophobic, but I feels like I'm claustrophobic when I'm sitting there, and especially if it's a full aisle. I'll always sit in the window. I'd rather get hit than get stuck.
Yeah, no, I get you, man. We just got to get our money up so we could sit in business and up.
Yeah, that honestly, that was one of the few experiences I had recently. I flew in business class to New Zealand. I was like, man, this is how you need to be living. I don't know how I'm gonna get it, but this is how I need to be living, bro.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm working on that.
Yeah, same here. Oh, ouch. Hold on. Stop. All right. Sorry. Animals just like to jump on you in the middle of shoots here. Moving along to the Vision Pro. If we're talking about a Wall-E life, the Vision Pro is definitely getting us to, sitting around and watching things and not paying attention to, to anything.
Yeah, it's disgusting. But you know what? When things like this happen, it just makes me want to work harder, because it makes me aware of the fact that the average person has no self-discipline. The average person does not work hard. Average person doesn't care much about their health. Average person is going to be stuck in the virtual world with this thing on their head. So I haven't used it. I just heard that it's a really nice experience. I'll probably never use it because I'm just not into virtual reality headsets. Never have been, probably never will be. But it's overpriced. It's an Apple product, and as we all know, Apple is probably the biggest, most respected electronics developer in the world at this moment. So I don't know. From everything I'm hearing, the reviews are stellar, but I've also come to the I've heard that they're being returned in a high capacity at the moment. So,
I'm not surprised.
Big
Are you
ups.
surprised? It sounds like immediate buyer's remorse.
3,500,
Well,
of course. Yeah, that's insane.
that is a MacBook price, bro.
Yeah.
For something that lasts for 2 hours. I'm sorry.
And you still need the MacBook in order to use it.
That's what I'm saying.
So we're talking about a $7,000 tag.
It's just I can't. I'm not. I'm also as someone who uses Apple products, I'm very adamant that you don't buy the first generation of anything from them. So maybe the next one will be better, but like even then, $3,500, not gonna do it. I'm sorry. No. I think that they've gotten a little ridiculous with the iPhone prices, and so they're like, well, this is another mobile device that people are used to. They're getting used to the higher prices of phones and stuff like that. So let's throw something in there. Now, granted, I do think there's a lot of tech in there that can warrant or justify the price being higher, but $3,500 is a lot.
They pushed the envelope.
Yeah. Agreed. And the one thing I would say that also makes me a little bit uncomfortable with that too is that their rollout plan has been to make it a commonplace in a lot of the places where you see, like, there's a lot of black people. That sounds terrible to say, but like I feel like they give it to they generally give it to like people to review and people get it or people buy it and be the first one with it. But like it was on Kai Cenat, I saw it on Joe Budden's podcast, I saw it on a bunch of places where I'm like, is this intentional? Is it intentionally put in this area, or is it just that it happened to be what people were talking about at the time? I don't know.
Yeah, well, I could speak only for the Joe Budden podcast aspect of it. That guy who was wearing it, Ice, he considers himself to be like a tech head. So he bought it, and I guess he thought it would be a good idea to wear it for the entirety of the show.
Okay.
That's all I have to offer.
Stuff, I guess.
You'll never see that on my face.
I don't know. I can't call it.
Yeah.
Can't call it.
But hey, credit to all the owners.
More power.
Yeah.
Yeah, more power to you. So talking about shaking it up, Beyonce dropped a country song, and it's getting the same reception as other people who've done country songs that are not country artists. But what are your thoughts on that? Did you listen to it?
Yeah, I heard Texas Hold'em. I think it was 2 songs she released, but I only listened to Texas.
It was 2. I didn't really.
I only listened to Texas Hold'em. As someone that's not a fan of country music, yeah, it kind of sounds like a country song, but honestly, whether it's accepted as country or not, I really wish that I could find a place to be concerned. It's a subpar song. It's Beyonce, which I'm not the biggest fan of her music anyway. That song was not made for people like me in mind. I mean, hey, if she's bored with what she's been doing and wants to try something new and break into another genre, more power to her. It's just not for me.
Yeah. I feel the same.
Yeah. Even when Lil Nas X did his song, when everyone was loving that song, I was not rocking it.
The thing about that was that the elements of that song, outside of content, didn't really fit into like a country song in my mind.
You're talking about the Lil Nas X song?
Lil Nas X, yeah. I feel like I think it was just it was more the content and how he was singing than like the instruments that were used and stuff like that. Which, so I can understand why people would feel that way. But at the end of the day, what difference does it make? Like we have other people making genres of music that they're not usually like. So it's just part of artistic expression. It shouldn't be like, honestly, this shouldn't be trending for any other reason than it's a good song or it's a bad song. Right? If it's a good song, it's trending. That's a thing. If it's a bad song, it's trending. It's a thing. Not because she decided to do something else. Like at this point, Beyonce is a freaking household name. If she wanted to come out and do polka, like would anyone care? So
Well, I will say that it should garner some attention because it's an artist with the magnitude of Beyonce, but she does not typically make that kind of music. So it would be the same if Beyonce decided to put out a full rap album. It would get a lot of attention. So I can understand that aspect of it.
but not negative attention to this.
I mean, was the attention negative?
It sounded like it was.
Oh, okay. I
I
didn't
mean,
really.
from what I heard, I didn't look that hard either. But
Yeah.
it
Hey.
sounded like there was a little bit upset.
Hey, you know how it goes. It has happened in many genres of music where there are people that are quote unquote the gatekeepers, and they may not be happy when certain things are happening, but it's music. You can't stop it. It's here. Deal with it.
And the weird thing to me is that any publicity like that, I don't agree with this, but any publicity in your genre is a good thing for your genre, because I have listened to other genres of music because someone did it and I'm like, nah, okay, there must be more to why. What is this person's influences that made them cross over and do this thing? And then you do a whole deep dive into that and find a whole nother, genre of music that you probably would not have listened to. So I think we have this idea about music that music belongs to anybody, and it really doesn't. I mean, it's hard to say that, especially when we talk about hip hop and people jumping into hip hop lane and but like at the same time, it's the truth. If somebody wants to do that, as much as we might not like what they're doing, the art speaks for itself. If it's good, it's good, and if it's not, then that's a different conversation.
I agree, but I could understand why people wouldn't be happy about exposure to their genre. I know I, at one time, used to definitely feel very connected with the music that I was listening to. And to a degree, there was a certain level of purist mentality that I had. So getting people from different sounds and different places coming into that genre and changing it was not something that I personally ever wanted, because it's like, I like this just the way it is and I don't want it to change for the negative. So I could understand that, because some people do want to continue to hear a pure version of what they enjoy.
Yeah, I hear that, but at the same time, it's like that it's going to continue changing, right? Like
it is, but it doesn't mean that you have to be happy about it. It's like if I enjoy just straight up cold water, and one day they just started adding all these flavors into water, and now I can't get pure cold water, I would be upset because I'm not interested in all the other flavors. So I could understand that. It's like someone who listens to hip hop and loves boom bap, even though boom bap still exists.
Yeah.
There's a lot less of it. So someone like that might be a little bit upset because it's like, hey, the sound that I really enjoyed, there was a lot of artists creating this sound. And now because of all these different sounds being introduced, everyone's moving away from this and I'm getting less of what I like. And I have all this other stuff over here that I don't like that has infiltrated the genre, and it makes it less enjoyable for me. So I can understand that. There's nothing you can do about it, but unfortunately that is evolution. But I can understand it from the mindset of someone who's a purist, who doesn't necessarily want exposure or the introduction of people from other places in their sound, their form of music that they've always enjoyed.
Yeah, I get that, but I mean, we got the internet, bro. I'm sorry, I hate to tell you, it's just the way it's gonna be. Like you can't do anything about it. So, we got a couple more topics. We don't have so many. We've just talked about so much at this point. I don't. It's actually slightly upsetting to still have to talk about this, but the boy known as Brother Love has caught another case. This man out here trying to do Trump numbers with these cases, bro. Like, I was like, it's just like, God dang, bro. Can he? I mean, can he? Is there anything else he hasn't done? Like, like what the hell, bro?
I think that there is a major misunderstanding. I mean, the man did change his name to Brother Love for a reason, right? He's just trying to show love. His form of love might not be accepted. Maybe he might have to maybe he might have to take his form of love and force it on you, but it's still love, right? Son. But I mean, Brother Love, if all of these things are true that I'm here, and you know what, some of it I do not believe, but Brother Love gotta calm down, man. Brother Love gotta, I don't know, maybe go to wherever it is Russell Simmons went to in Bali and just start doing yoga and figure his life out.
I don't think they'll make a difference. I honestly, and the question is whether or not, if they're real, is that even in question anymore? There's been so many, right? Like, is this an intentional campaign to make him look bad, or is he really a scumbag? I don't. It's like, I don't know.
You know what his biggest mistake was? His biggest mistake was not taking the Cassie case to court. Because once he paid off Cassie, it just opened the floodgates to a whole bunch of other people. I don't know if any of it is true, but if none of it was true, or if even there was even just a slight bit of doubt with the Cassie case, he should have fought it, because that is the only way you would have been able to stop all of these other allegations. People see that, you come for me, I'm coming for you. It wouldn't have went down the way that it is right now.
The one thing I would say to that, though, I do think that it's because of how they structured that case. It wasn't just his opinion. From what I remember, it sounded like they went after the Combs business, which the companies don't want none of that shit, right? Because like they still have to operate outside of him, whether he's there or not. So, I think that was a chess move, and Cassie won. I don't think there was any way they could have gotten around that. So
that's terrible. If it's not true and they did that, all they did was help to ruin his name, because he looks guilty, and it has opened the floodgates. So I think we're watching in real time the falling of one of the greatest moguls of our time. I don't think PDiddy is ever going to come back from this. I think we've heard the last of him. You might see him in things here and there. You might hear his name from time to time, but in terms of him being outside the way he used to be, it's over for him. It's a wrap.
It's just, But you know what's crazy, and the sad thing about it is, I feel like we're watching a lot of the people that I would say, like I looked up to, crash and burn like this. There's a lot of people. There's a lot of people that are just crashing and burning in a way that I'm like, well, god dang, like,
to a degree, that almost makes me feel better about the fact that I don't really hold any of them to a certain standard, because you never know what these people got going on. And that could be disappointing in the long run to, someone that you kind of like looked at as the archetype, as the almost like the blueprint for how you would like to structure your own progression. And then it's like, this is what you got going on. Yeah. So, I mean, I don't know if any of these are true, or if there's some truth to any of them, but if there isn't, all I can say is it's over for him. I don't see how he can ever come back from this. It's over.
Yeah. Agreed. Well, last thing, I guess we started with Club Shay Shay, and I guess we're
ending on Club Shay Shay.
The Monique thing. Like, what are your thoughts on that? I don't really have much thoughts.
I was about to say, if you heard what I said about Cat Williams, you could literally take the name Cat Williams out of that and implant Monique, and it's pretty much the same thing. I have no interest in anything she has to say. I have never been a fan of her stand-up. I'm not interested in her beefs. I'm not interested in her transgressions, none of that stuff. Her being on Club Shay Shay and turning it into a complaint session is not something that I find entertaining. I have to say, I would have to sit down and watch that Club Shay Shay show at some point, because honestly, it sounds like a roller coaster of just bad interviews, man. But for some reason,
I don't know. I don't know if I could give it. I can't give that to you, man.
Listen, I'm not expecting you to, but his interview style, like the people, the news that comes out of the podcast, I don't like any of it. I do not like any of it. I could sit here and talk to you about many different podcasts, and there's a lot that you can learn, a lot that you can take away, a lot of entertainment, a lot of real world information, something that makes you think, something that makes you grow, something that you can use and implement into your there's a lot of different podcasts that I listen to, and they all have helped me in some way or another. there's nothing that I hear coming out of this Club Shay Shay that is even remotely positive. Like, what do they do? Just sit around and just talk shit? Like, I don't understand it. But hey, credit to the black man for making a big platform like he has.
I'll break it down for you. He is the Wendy Williams of the internet.
Oh, then I definitely am not interested. I don't like Wendy Williams either.
That's what it feels like based on that conversation. Now, he's had other ones that didn't have all of this, vitriol, for lack of a better word. But I do think that that's kind of what he's going for. Because I mean,
messiness.
The sit down conversations, other people have done it, right? Like they have Kevin Hart has his own show doing that, and those are interesting. I think there's a lot of that, but I mean, he took this show that he's doing by himself. Cam Newton has one as well. Like, there's a lot of people who have these shows. And
I like Cam Newton's interview style, though.
Yeah. At the core, you have to do stuff to make yourself stick out, and
I guess, yeah.
And that's what worked. So
I mean, hey, credit to him, salute to all the people that enjoy his podcast. I'm not a fan of the messiness. I'm one of those people that avoid places like the Shade Room and Lipstick Alley and what's that crap that came up back in the early 2000s? World Star, yeah. The Jerry Springer style stuff is it's never really been my thing.
Damn, you dating yourself with the Jerry Springer though. But
hey, listen, man, it is what it is. But that kind of stuff never really was an appeal to me.
Yeah. As I said, to your point, I give him credit for like what he's able to do because the numbers he's doing is just fantastic for him. Making the YouTube algorithm. I don't even know is it considered a podcast? I don't think it's a podcast.
I think they consider it to be honestly, I don't even know. Everything's a podcast now. Somebody's talking, they call it a podcast. But let me ask you this. As someone that is building and running and participating in a network, would you be satisfied with yourself if you were big as a Club Shay Shay or as a Shade Room or anything like that, but all of the attention that you were getting was this type of attention, just this negative, gossipy, like it's triggering potential arguments and beefs? And is that something that you would say, you know what, I'm really proud of the product that I have put forward to the community, to the culture?
Personally, no. And I think if I went that route, or if we went that route, we'd have been further ahead by now. Like
Okay.
if we went that route, we would have been further ahead.
Just being messy, yeah.
Yeah, it's just never been the type of thing. Like our World Star, I remember when we used to run the blog We and Now, it was like we could do more World Star style stuff, but like is that what we want to do, right? And it's not meant to be disrespectful. It's not meant to be downplaying anybody else's achievements. It's just that it's meant to say that I have a lane that I want to go that is not necessarily represented in the same things you're doing. It's like, like the Love and Hip Hops of the world. It's like, yeah, I mean, if Love and Hip Hop came to do it, gave me a show to be on there, would I turn on the check? Probably. But then again, it started so many careers because of the exposure. So it is a fine line between ratchetness and some kind of sense of decorum. So yeah. I can't be mad at people for, leaning a little bit into the ratchet because,
right.
You know what? Charleston White, who I don't necessarily ever want to recommend as a person that I would follow based on his antics, but I watched him on the excuse me, he did an interview with Cam Newton, and he was talking about the fact he's like, yeah, before I started talking like this, I was literally out there lobbying senators and I was out there doing all this work, but no one was listening to me. And we saw the same thing with Kevin Samuels, where before Kevin Samuels started being like a little bit more the disrespectful type, you weren't seeing them show up in the mainstream. So it's like there is a question and there is a potential for you to be successful by following the blueprint that other people have done. Are you willing to do that and live with yourself at the end of the day? So
yeah, that's really what it boils down to. If you're okay with it, then so be it. But it's just interesting to me how people are easily willing to sell their personal ideals for a little bit more attention that will get them some money.
100%. But then also we also have to be realistic about the fact that, like, you know, if you're looking at it, he has, like, we're talking about Club Shay Shay, he has this show that he's got amazing interviews with a lot of people, and those are not the ones that are getting highlighted, right? So in all honesty, it's like, how can I know that bringing this person on will guarantee this? And honestly, the Monique one was just was because of Kat. So before this, was it messy? I mean, he had what's this girl's name?
Country Wayne was
Brittany
on
Renner
there.
on there.
Brittany Renner, from my understanding, when Country Wayne was on there, him and Jess Hilarious had a pretty tumultuous relationship. Then he brought Jess Hilarious on there, and she was giving it up about Country Wayne. So it's really messy stuff. I have not really watched it, and I'll probably never watch it unless he interviews someone. I don't know. It would be hard because even one of my favorite artists of all time, Kanye West, any interviews that I've seen him on recently, I've been only able to watch like a few minutes, and then I had to turn it off. When he was on Rogan, I had to turn it off. When he was on Drink Champs, I had to turn it off. I just am not a fan of that type of interview.
Understandable. I think that's about it, man. I don't think there's anything else that is worthy of us talking about at this point. So unless you have any final thoughts?
No, not at all. That was the month of February. Hopefully March is a little bit, I guess, less drama filled. But if it was, then we wouldn't have anything to talk about. So
facts.
I guess
facts. But
let the foolishness continue.
It allows us to have something to talk about, I guess. But on that note, we appreciate you for making it, and probably one of our longest episodes, because we're doing January and February. We definitely appreciate you making it this far. This has been Wrapped. Peace.